What you're looking at here is a family member's gaming PC that she has been using every day since she built it back in 2012. And while it's been doing everything she needs it to do, recently in the last year or two it started running slower and slower until eventually it got to the point where it could take over 10 minutes just to load into Windows. So she gave it to me to see if I could make the PC more usable again. So let's go ahead and see what we're working with here. Before powering on the system, I decided to open up the case and see what's going on inside. This thing could definitely use a good cleaning. I'm sure the first thing most of you noticed is the dual GPU setup in this PC. This PC is rocking dual NVIDIA GTX 450 graphics cards, which came out in September of 2010 as an entry-level option to NVIDIA's new 400 series GPUs. Everything inside this PC is original for when it was built, except for the power supply, which she replaced a couple of years ago when the original one failed. When I first started working on this PC and attempted to power it on, I got no signs of life from the system. No lights or fans spinning at all. I wanted to get to the front panel header so I could jump the pins, however it was buried underneath both of the GPUs. So first thing I did, which was way easier, is making sure this power supply is still working. After hooking up a PSU tester, we can see that it passes with no issues, which means the GPUs have to come out. After removing the GPUs, I noticed that this motherboard actually has a built-in power button, which does light up when the PC is plugged in. After checking the front panel connectors, I noticed that the breakout connector for the front panel came loose. This must have happened during transit. After plugging it back in all the way and hitting the power button, this machine came back to life and we were able to get into the BIOS. Despite the system being built sometime in 2012, it actually doesn't have the newest hardware from that time period. This PC features a first-gen Core i7-960, which is paired with an MSI X58 micro ATX motherboard. We also have 24 gigs of DDR3 RAM, 1TB WD Blue hard drive, dual EVGA GTX 450 1GB GPUs, and a Thermaltake 700W PSU, all housed inside this PowerSpec PC case. So now that the PC is working again, let's put the two GPUs back in and see if we can duplicate the concern of Windows being extremely slow. Now this footage just sped up and cut, but I didn't even get a chance to get into Windows during this recording. It took nearly 15 minutes for it to just load the desktop, and even then it wasn't responding to any of my inputs. I'm guessing the hard drive in this system is failing, but we will confirm that later on in this video. Since I'm pretty confident that the hard drive is the main culprit here, I'm going to start with cleaning up this system and basically doing a full restoration on it. First, let's start with disassembling this system down to its bare metal chassis. I decided to take a look at this hard drive to see if I could find a manufacture date on it, and sure enough, this one was manufactured in December of 2012, confirming that this is indeed the original hard drive for this PC. Now it's time to remove the motherboard, which was actually fighting me quite a bit. It was stuck to the I/O shield, and the I/O shield was stuck to the case, and it was not going down without a fight. Eventually, I got the I/O shield removed from the case, which set the motherboard free. Now we can see all the dirt and dust that has accumulated in this PC case for the last 13 years. This honestly isn't the worst that I've seen. After taking out the DVD drive and the very dusty case fans, I decided to pull up the front panel to see how bad it is. Ooh, well, there's about a third of a cat forming in the front fan grill, but at least it's all collected in one area, which makes it easier to remove. Now that this case is fully stripped, it's getting the garden hose treatment. While the case dries outside, let's hook up this hard drive to my test bench and see how it's doing. And wow, look at this. over 90,000 hours on this drive, which is equivalent to about 10 years of constantly running. I'm honestly surprised that this drive is still going. Now, despite the fact that this drive is about ready to put its 2 weeks notice in, I was still able to successfully clone everything over to a new SSD, which is the T-Force Delta Max 1TB. This was the cheapest 1TB SSD at the time, which was $42, and it also happens to have RGB, so now this PC will have just a little bit of RGB flair to it when I'm all done with it. Now let's turn our attention to the CPU. I removed the cooler to see how the thermal paste was, and it wasn't actually completely dried up yet. Perhaps this was redone at some point. Now this motherboard is pretty gross, and it took over an hour of cleaning just to make it look more presentable, and I did most of that cleaning off camera. Now we get to tackle the most important part of this PC, the graphics cards. Now I only filmed the cleaning process of one GPU, but despite the bottom GPU struggling for airflow, it was still just as dirty as the top one. I also went ahead and put some new thermal paste on since it was fully dried up. Here's how everything is looking after the cleanup. It's not perfect, but it's at least 10 times better than it was from the start, right? Now it's time for the reassembly. And just like that, it's all ready to go. Okay everybody, now that this PC is all ready to go, let's do some gaming benchmarks and see how this 13-year-old PC is holding up for modern gaming in 2025. Up first is Fortnite, which immediately on launch reminds us of how old these GPUs are, which by the way, haven't received driver updates in the last 7 years. At 1080p Pro settings, we got an average of just 34 FPS. This is pretty bad, especially since it's not a smooth 34 FPS either, but I wanted to point out something that some of you might not have noticed, and it's that Fortnite is actually using both GPUs. You can see that the second GPU is doing something, I'm not even really sure, but Fortnite is probably just using it for its VRAM honestly, since 1 gig is pretty obsolete nowadays. Switching to performance mode, we got a very nice 71 FPS average. The fact that this can get over 60 and some really cheap modern laptops can't is kinda sad, to be honest. Next up is BeamNG Drive, and at 1080p with the lowest possible settings, we got an average of just 24 FPS. We just couldn't quite hit that 30 FPS mark. This game also looks and feels like I'm playing it on the Xbox 360. Did this game even come out for the 360? I don't even know. After that, we got Minecraft 1.21 using Lunar Client, which is quite a bit less intensive than BeamNG. And at 1080p with a 12 chunk render distance, we got an average of 92 FPS while walking around a survival world. I'm sure this PC would have been killer for playing Minecraft back in 2012, but even today, it's still very playable. For our final game, we have another pretty easy title to run, and that's Terraria. At 1080p with the default settings, we were able to get a constant 60 FPS during the entire session. For the synthetic benchmarks, we have 3D Mark Firestrike and Cinebench R15. In 3D Mark, this computer was just not having a good time and scored a whopping 2,580. Our GTS 450s are actually underperforming a little bit, which is interesting. In Cinebench R15, the i7-960 got a score of 489, which puts it right around the performance of an AMD FX 8300 or a 3rd gen Intel i5. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, definitely leave a like and subscribe, as there will be more content coming. I promise. It's been a while since I've posted, I know, but there will be some more content coming soon, and you're going to want to stay tuned for this, because in part 2 we're going to be throwing in a cheap $40 GPU that I bought off of eBay, and we're going to see if that can save the gaming performance of this computer. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one.